All right, hello everyone, and now welcome to episode number 30 of Verdicts of the Ancient Kings Freezer Meat. All right, we got a lot to cover in this. In this week, a lot was announced with the introduction of Frozen Heart, and I am definitely looking forward to what all you guys out there have to say, think about these particular cards. Also, remember to leave comments alongside me dual tasking right now. I think he's actually playing a game of Hex and also going to be my co-caster host for the day is Nico. Nico, how you doing?
I'm good. Hanging in there. I'm in a round three of a draft.
All right, so round three of our draft, we'll see how he goes. If he has to space out for just a little moment, all right, so we know round exactly why as things are getting underway here. Let's go ahead and break things down just a bit. We will be going over last week's puzzle results, going over Frostheart, the keywords, spoilers, and speculation. But let's go ahead and head into last week's particular puzzle. Last week's puzzle, we had said that your opponent is at 14 life. Your champion is Grandfather Elk. You have 6 resources, 6 charges. Rather than have you guess what was in your hand, which doesn't really help you get better at Hex, as opposed to, I guess, test your knowledge. We actually told you everything that was in play and everything that was in your hand and tried to have you figure out what you needed to do in order to win. You had a determined Bushi and a Stinkhorn with a Blitz and a Duplicious Duke in hand. And well, we did get a number of submissions, and this really rested on your understanding of how Crush and Lethal work. Nico, why don't you go ahead and explain how Crush and Lethal works?
Yeah, sure. So the way lethal works is interesting. Whereas you only need, I'm getting some feedback on my end, but you only need 1 point of lethal to kill a particular target.
So what ends up happening here is, okay, I'm going to turn off my speakers. Hold on a second.
Okay. Yeah. So
So what ends up
if
happening here
say,
is instead of giving the determined Bushi, which seems to be the obvious target for the Duplicious Duke, what you actually do is you play the Duplicious Duke, you shift the ability over to the Stinkhorn, you blitz using the Duplicious Duke as your exhausted target, give the Stinkhorn also the champion power, which then makes your Stinkhorn, I believe, what is that, a 7, an 8 attack? 4, 1, yeah, I think it's actually an 8 attack. And then, because of that, when the Duplicious, at the start of the combat phase, the Stinkhorn attacks, it becomes like an 8/5 lethal crush troop. And even though the Sky Spire Scholars do have 6 defense, the Stinkhorn only needs to deal 1 point of damage to both to the Sky Spire Scholar to kill it, and then the remaining overflow damage actually rolls over and does damage to the face of your opponent. So one of those mechanics, if you understand how lethal works, you can in fact push through more damage even if your opponent has really, really big, beefy bodies on the board. It looks as though Than, Simply, Monk, Tiden, Terrainer, and Griffin Heart got the correct responses. And did you choose a winner, or are you going to announce
I
it?
just did while you were saying their names. So the third one on the list wins. I just random.org it.
All right, so Tiden, am I saying that name correctly?
Yeah, Tidden or Titan.
Tiden or Tidden, you will be receiving some stuff in the mail from me. I'm not quite sure why, but sometimes people are saying that the codes have already been redeemed. So I'm not 100% sure why that is the case. But if that is the case, simply send me an email or send me in-game mail, and I will definitely send you out some more codes out there as well. But hats off to the winners, and we will be having another puzzle at the end of this particular episode. It's going to be a little bit more open-ended with a bit of, well, I guess a spoiler. Now, the big news over the weekend or last Friday was the announcement of Frostheart. Frostheart has been something that I can't say too much about, but I've heard a lot of rumblings about for quite some time and heard a lot of story about. Quite actually interesting. I didn't realize this until I was making the slides earlier. Did you notice there's a giant heart in like that sapphire gem in Frost Art?
Yeah, I did. It's pretty cool. I like the way that the art turned out for that.
Yeah, so as I understand it, I actually know quite a bit about the story and the lore behind what's happening here, and I don't know how much of it is revealed. Do you know how much I can say? Like, because I don't know how much of stuff is like I heard that I'm not supposed to talk about, but it's already been made public. So why don't you go ahead and talk about the story a bit?
Sure. So from what I know, there are three factions that have been revealed and talked about in terms of who are going to kind of partake in the Frost Ring Arena storyline, and I think there's two others that are coming. And it seems like Hogarth is setting up the challenge for the Frost Ring Arena that that everyone is fighting to kind of to win. I didn't read deep into the storyline around it, but it does sound like they're kind of melding PvE into the PvP storyline.
Yeah, so they actually announced it today that they're moving away from the Ardent and Underworld storyline that's normally been driving much of the PvP sets, and the Frost Heart is actually a bit more, I guess, PvE driven in terms of story. I guess it's not technically Ardent and Underworld, so I'm actually kind of curious as to how these champions are going to flesh out a bit. Looking at the art, it looks like Horgath is going up against Lixil, fighting in front of some sort of giant sapphire gem. So it's kind of interesting because I know Horgath is supposed to be like the keeper of this the Frost Ring Arena, and I don't know if he's there by choice or not. He actually seems like he's actually enslaved if you read some of the card text. So it doesn't sound like he actually likes being where he currently is, and he actually says he needs a lot of blood for some reason, and he's promising people something from some of the stories that I've actually gathered. So I'm really looking forward to what the story is going to be, what's going to be happening with Horgath, and I believe that's Lixil. It looks like Lixil to me. Can you confirm that, or what's your opinion? Don't confirm anything. Who do you think that looks like?
Um, yeah, I guess that looks like Lixel. Yeah, I couldn't think of who else that would be.
All right, so for right now, it's going to be Horgath versus Lixil. They're fighting it out. I don't know what happens when you have a 5/5 spell shield human troop go up against a 3/3 invincible troop, but I guess we'll find out in the next coming sets to figure out what's happening in this battle here. But with this introduction, with the new PvP set, we're coming across 5 new keywords. They're going to be Frost Form, Gladiator, Illuminate, Runic, and Fate Weave. Frost Form is generally something that is specific to Diamond and Sapphire, so all of Horgath's kinds of creation that allows players to play troops for a cheaper Frost Form cost. It's I believe it's always 2 less than the normal cost of the troop. However, by getting it into the Frost Form version, it becomes brittle. It only has 1 defense, and it also gains the elemental keyword. So I don't know if they're going to actually trigger elementals into that. They're easier to remove, but at the same time, you can kind of get them down faster. And I think this is going to have a lot of impact on limited play in terms of being able to round out your deck costs and also being able to revert a troop. It does go back to its normal full version with that full defense. Anything to add?
No, it looks like Revert's going to be a really solid mechanic in this set. I really like Frostform as a player that often gets shard screwed. It seems like a nice way to kind of squeeze my way back in before I lose to wait for those shards to hit. But yeah, Revert with Frostform is going to be super powerful.
Yeah. And then talking about Shard Screwed, let's go ahead and just jump down straight into Fate Weave. Fate Weave is a mechanic that allows you to manipulate your next or manipulate your next draw card or by putting a card specifically to the top of your deck. And you can either choose it, you can either have it be a resource or a non-resource card. And I think this is actually going to fix a lot of the issues with a shard screw in limited and maybe even in constructed without it being overly broken or overly like too strong. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's going to be really nice for the fixing element. Yeah, and the Fate Weave mechanics is going to be crazy for it. It's just it seems like they've thought a lot about the resource screw problems and have had found new ways to address it through keywords and mechanics in the game.
Yeah. Could you imagine if there was Fate Weave on resources?
Wow, yeah, that'd be cool. I don't know if you're hinting at something, but that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, like I don't know if I'm hinting at anything either, but Fate Weave on resources, being able to manipulate your next draw, it's kind of like guidance. Guidance to me is almost like an arcane focus, but better because there are certain instances when you're playing in constructed where like, okay, I have one resource, but I have two arcane focus. I'm good. I can keep this opening hand. You turn one, you play a sapphire shard, you play arcane focus, you get no resource, no resource. Just like, okay, no, I'm good. I can go one more turn. Next turn, you don't have a shard in hand. You play arcane focus, and you get no resource, no resource, and you're like, okay, this completely just negated the whole entire reason why I run arcane focus. And guidance seems to be a little bit better in that it can guarantee you the resource, but it can't choose between the better of two cards that you would normally want. So that's a nice little perk there. Moving on
Yeah.
to go ahead.
Yeah, I think guidance is going to be a really powerful card, potentially better than arcane focus.
All right, so everyone, if you haven't, vote on guidance for that alternate art card. Like right now, I believe it's on the ladders, or it's going to be ladder reward possibly. If you also want it as a back, it's guaranteed to be a ladder reward, but it could also be the back of a card. Do you really need to have the? Nah, I don't know. I don't know if it really needs to be the back of the card sleeve. All right, moving right along to Gladiator. Let me know when your draft is done. It seems like he's in a very, very intense game. I think he's going for 3-0 right now. So I'll
yeah, sorry. It is super intense. I apologize for not really being present.
No, I totally been there. Nico was telling me, yeah, like, oh yeah, don't worry, start the cast. It's gonna be fine. I'm 2-0 right now. It's game 3. I'm like, I don't know. It seems like you're in a pretty intense match, but all right, if you feel like you're up to it. Okay, moving right along to Gladiator. Shows up on some Ruby and Wild troops, and it gives a troop a boost to stats depending on whose turn it is. If it's on your turn, it gives you attack, and if it's on your opponent's turn, it gives you defense. A lot of people have been equating Gladiator to essentially Commander Prompt, and it does have a lot of those same mechanics. What's interesting about it, though, is steadfast mechanics or exhaust, but you can still use exhaust mechanisms in order and still keep your defenses and things like that. So it really is, if it's a Gladiator 2 1-2 on your turn, it's a 3-2, which is a nice body to swing with, and on the defense it's a solid 1-4, which is probably strong enough to block some sort of frost form troop while still staying alive. So it has upsides on both there. Illuminate.
Yeah, I like the ability to like make a troop useful on both ends.
Mm-hmm.
Seems pretty powerful. So yeah, I think Frostform, like Gladiator is like probably a decent counter to Frostform. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah. Moving on, you have Illuminate. So Illuminate, the engine works like this. Illuminate X. If you do not have a Candlekin, put a Candlekin into play. If you have at least one Candlekin, when you illuminate, you can either say give all your Candlekin +X +X, or create X candlekin. And the reason why I specifically say it this way is if there is, say, for an example, illuminate 4 on a card out there, you cannot choose to create 2 candlekin and give all of your candlekin +2/+2. It doesn't work like that. So certain instances you'll be like, oh, I have an illuminate 4 in my hand, but I really want to be able to give candlekin +4/+4, but right now it's really not worth it. Or do you really want to have 4 1/1s on the table? And it's one of those decisions that when you're in the moment, like, can you rely on your deck to get those necessary candlekins or the necessary illuminates into hand as well? Also, we will touch on the escalation card that was revealed today, because it specifically says create 1 candlekin. It does not say illuminate, just because illuminate with escalation is probably very, very dangerous.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I didn't really see that when I first looked at that card, but that makes perfect sense as to why it wouldn't have been set up that way.
Yep. And moving right along, we have Runic. When you play a Runic card, it will transform and enter play as a constant in its rune form. When you draw a resource, the rune will revert and be played for free. This is like this was one of those cards for me. Like they had explained the concept to me, but it was one of those cards that seemed very, very difficult to understand, like between Runic and Fate Weave and all the things that are going on in the game, where until it's actually in client, you don't realize how awesome it is that there is a client that's handling a lot of the mechanics for you in a game like Hex, where you don't have to keep track of drawing resources or revealing the resource to your opponent and things like that. But yeah, Runic is definitely double dipping your value whenever you play a specific action.
In the Runic keyword, it seems like they could do a lot with that. It doesn't necessarily have to only be actions. So it'll be interesting to see how they define that space with different cards.
Well, how would, like, just curious, how would it work without an action? Because actions are the only things that you play and go straight to your crypt that I can think of, right?
No, yeah, I guess you have a point. If it was a troop or a constant or something, yeah, it wouldn't make sense. Yeah, I guess I didn't think that through all the way. But yeah, that totally makes sense that it wouldn't work that way per se.
All right, let's go ahead and look at some of the spoilers that have been shown or have been revealed. So here's 2 cards right here. We have the Borean Leopard and the Alchemite. It's a 4-cost 3/4 steadfast with a frost form that essentially makes it a 3/1. So you can see there's actually a slight variation on the art. It goes from a 2-cost or a 4-cost to a 2-cost. It gets a little bit, I guess, more icy, as opposed to its nice, nicely fur coat, and also loses that frost form ability and stays as a 3/1. But you can revert it as some sort of combat trick. You can block and purposely revert a troop that you have. I don't know if Cleansing Touch is ever going to make a comeback here. I've heard that it's a really, really bad card. Maybe it's now at least usable, as you'll get a Valor off of it. But yeah, Brittle and Borean Leopard. And they also did reveal the Alchemite. It was a 5-drop 3/6. When this attacks, draw a card, and then you could discard a card to revert it and put it back into your hand. So you could freely swing with it, and at the same time, if you were trying to bluff some sort of combat trick and didn't really have it, you could bounce it back to your hand, perhaps a card you didn't need. Since you are drawing so many additional cards. The Brittle Alchemite looking like that. It looks like a jellyfish surrounded in ice, and it's obviously a 3/1 instead of a 3/6. Yeah, Frost form, I know it's going to be great in limited, just being able to put down a blocker if you end up getting shard screwed, not being able to get to 5, getting stuck at 3, but still hitting your thresholds and playing the Brittle Alchemite.
The brittle alchemite is going to be a very powerful card. I think was it rarity? Was it rare? I think it was a rare.
Yeah, it was a rare. So the rarity card is actually lost, and it's important to note that anything that randomly creates troops cannot create the brittle versions of it because it has that gray icon. So it can only create the normal versions of those cards. So you can't accidentally create when you try to go create like a 5 cost troop. It can't be a brittle something.
Got it. I see. Interesting.
All right, moving right along, we also have Horgath. Horgath being, well, one of the main characters of this particular, or I guess the main character of this particular set. He does have a card. He is a human mage that's unique. He has Spell Shield. And when he deals combat damage to a champion, you avoid him. If you do, what's interesting about this is it says you and your deck transform into Horgath, Master of the Arena. And I don't know what is in the Horgath deck to know how powerful that actually is. I do know that there's Crispin, Gonriel, and Mollog, who are the 3 talking skulls that are currently on Horgath's, I guess, staff. All 3 of those constants are extremely powerful. All 3 of those constants are unique, and all 3 of those constants cannot be in play at the same time. So it does make for a very, very, very strange game. What do you think?
I think I didn't know about the deck changing. I don't know if that's really what they intended with that text, but if the deck does change as well, that would be extremely interesting.
Well, see
Those
here, read it. If you
it
look
says
at
it,
Hogarth,
yeah, it
right?
says it, but I mean, I still didn't anticipate that's what happened. So I guess we'd have to really play around with that card quite a bit to see like what actually goes into the Hogarth deck and what makes it super powerful.
Well, if you read the game text or the charge power of the Hogarth, it says put a random card named Crispin, Mollog, or Gonriel from your deck into your hand. You can't put a random one of those cards unless you have those
Oh,
in
unless
your
they're in your
deck.
deck, yeah. Okay.
And it
Yep.
can't be, and those cards can't be in your deck because they all have the created symbol.
Yep. That makes sense.
So
Okay.
so part of me was wondering, like, there, like a lot of people were saying, I don't know, it's a 6 cost troop that has to deal combat damage in order for it to be effective, for it to get its secondary effect, and that's true, but we don't know what that deck is yet.
Mhm.
So until we know what type of deck that's particularly running, perhaps it removes all the shards and there's no shards in the deck, and everything is cost 3. That would be a very, very interesting deck, just because you could play 1 to 2 cards a turn.
Yeah.
Or the other
Mhm.
cards generate charges so that you can get the Crispin and the Gonriel and the Mollog. I'm really, really curious as to how strong this particular deck is compared to all the other transforming champions that are currently out there. Or this might,
Which constant do you like the best?
well, if I like Infinite Crispin the most.
Yeah. Yeah. The opposing troops in all zones have -2 attacks. Pretty cool.
But no,
And getting additional turn, of course, that's like the big boon of it.
yeah, so it's that deploy. Take an additional turn after this one. So if you can continually play Crispin, then you're obviously if you can't win with infinite turns, then the Hogarth deck is really, really a bad deck, and there's no reason to really play it.
True.
All right, moving right along, we do have a lot more spoilers to go over. We have the Toolkit Assistant, Weave into Nothing, and Guidance. Toolkit Assistance says deploy. This gets a random boon. And a boon is any standard keyword that is in the basic set. So it could be Spell Shield, it could be Rage, it could be Swift Strike, it could be Flight, it could be why am I forgetting Speed? It could be Skyguard, it could be Crush. It could be any of those things here. And this is one of those cards that Like it's almost a hit or miss. Like if you get I don't know what if you get speed, a 4-drop 3/3 speed, that's okay and limited. If you get a rage, that's pretty good. So it makes it for a little bit interesting mechanic just to be built in, as opposed to trying to list every single keyword. Having to just get a boon in there is nice.
Yeah, I like that they renamed it as a boon. It's just I don't know about the robot. I mean, it's kind of a generic robot, but it could have some really cool interactions with bouncing.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. Robots in general are pretty fun to play, and they usually have interactions that really help with them being replayed at a lot cheaper cost. So it might see some play.
Yeah. Um, when I saw the weave into nothing, the interrupt target card Fate Weave, I think I found what card is replacing Denial. I think Denial is probably going to drop in cost significantly with Weave into Nothing coming around in the next set. What do you think?
Oh yeah, I completely agree. That card is uncommon, and it's doing more than Deny can. Deny was too it was too situational. I didn't think it was super effective. So it's nice to see this variation of Deny that's going to probably see more play and then also be a lot more affordable to acquire.
Yeah, and I do like the fact that I don't think they're ever going to reprint Counter Magic the way it is, just because Counter Magic was just so negative to play against. And still seeing them create a very very powerful interrupt that costs 3. Weaving the Nothing actually does make me a little bit concerned to the number of Nope decks that I'm gonna see again. Winter Moon with Weave into Nothing in the Immortal format is going to be absolutely maddening and go to time, I'm sure, very very often, along with Counter Magic.
Yeah, it'll probably go to time very often. Um, I think that they can just keep stacking the actions that they need to get to the top of the deck. And then, Psychic Ascension can just, clench it even harder. So, yeah, it's going to be a pretty significant combo.
All right, and we already talked about Guidance. It's pretty much the new Arcane Focus. Very, very strong card right there. Fate Weave, draw a card, and you can guarantee either an action or a non-resource or a resource. Very, very strong card there. We've already talked about it. Moving right along, we go into Runeseeker, and Runeseeker is perhaps one of my favorite cards of the uncommons that I've seen, that I can talk about. Deploy transform target action in your crypt into a mysterious rune and put it into play. So essentially, the Runeseeker allows you to play any action you've already played again as a rune. So when a resource enters your hand, you can revert it and then play it again for free.
Yeah, that is a significant card. The Mysterious Rune is it going to play that action again, or is it going to be a random rune?
So okay, so how it works is transform target action in your crypt into a mysterious rune and put it into play. So the mysterious rune is always going to be the mysterious rune, and it's sitting there. You can figure out what the reverted card is, but you have to click on it to know. So it's one of those things where it's another thing that you have to remember. If you have multiple mysterious runes out, what each mysterious rune does.
Oh, gotcha.
Because some of the runes are specific runes. It will say rune of something, and oh yeah, that rune, when my opponent draws a resource, is going to do this, and there's a visual indicator. The mysterious rune, you actually have to remember what it is and click on it to figure out how you're going to play it or play around it.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
All right, moving right along, we are going into more. So we have the Runic Fury and the Rune of Fury, as I mentioned earlier, or just now. Target troop you control gets +3 attack and +1 defense and crush this turn, and it's Runic. So after you play it, It doesn't go to your crypt. It sits on in your, I guess, constant area as a rune, and it says when a resource enters your hand, revert this and play it for free. So that's exactly that.
Yep. It's a nice buff. It's going to be widely played, I believe. It's not quite as powerful as like Blitz, I would say, but it does also give Crush. So that's pretty nice. And I guess there's not much to say about the Candlekin since we've already talked about that quite a bit, but the Illuminate mechanic's pretty awesome. But yeah, Runic Fury I think is going to be heavily drafted, like one of those commons that is going to be picked really early.
Well, if you think about it in conjunction with, if you have a Runic Fury and a Guidance in your hand, you can play Runic Fury out of combat and then play Guidance out of combat and then attack with 2 troops that have +3 attack and crush. So you may want to save it as a combat trick. You may want to save it as to get that additional lethal before you attack, because it's any time you draw a card. So it's not necessarily the next turn if you can, in fact, trigger a way to draw a card.
Guidance as a combat trick. That's pretty awesome. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a very interesting way to play with the new Fate Weave comboing with Runic. Wow, I didn't think of that either. So Fate Weave is going to combo quite a bit with Runic. Okay, I lost my draft quota. I got the guy down to 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So I think my presence of mind is going to be a little bit more here, even though we're almost done at this point.
All right. I'm sorry you lost your draft. Like going 3-0 in a draft feels like you're on cloud 9, but going 2-1 after you're at 2-0, you're just like, ugh. Like,
it's okay. I've had a good string of 3-0s. I played a lot of draft last week.
Yeah.
I've actually been doing quite well. And the only reason I lost is he had a very timely Verdict of Ancient Kings on turn 3 that countered my Forgotten Forge. I was playing Ruby Diamond.
Mm-hmm.
He was in Sapphire Diamond, and he just he was able to like beat me in the skies late game by just countering that rage effect. I had Stalag Mage that sat on the table for 13 turns that would have killed him. Oh well, it happens.
It does happen. All right, moving on, we have the Candlekin. 1-drop 1/1 elemental. It's created. So what do you think of the art on the Candlekin?
It's pretty cool. It's a little fighter candle. You know what would be really neat? I know they probably didn't do this, but if you did illuminate to give it plus X, that it got bigger with the buff, or like it got buff with the buff. I don't know. Maybe in the future that it will do something funny like that. But
so you're saying like the art changes as it gets bigger, it gets buffer.
All of a sudden he has like little biceps or something on. That'd be pretty funny.
I don't know. Maybe there's like more art to it. Maybe it like zooms out and then you see like more and more candles. I don't know. I don't know. Or maybe I do know and I can't say anything. Either way.
Okay.
Either way, let's move on to more of the Illuminate cards that are currently out there. Initiate of the Wax is a 2-drop 1/3. It is an Ardent Cleric, human cleric. Very important to note. It does have a basic ability, Illuminate 1. And it just seems like one of those commons in Limited that's either going to be, on a scale of 2 to 10, it's either going to be a 2 for your deck or a 9 for your deck if you are going for Illuminate. And I love this just because, I guess the cleric can get that strong. And another instance where if you can revert the Initiate of Wax, you can create another Candlekin or give all your Candlekin +1/+1.
Yeah, and well, what's also interesting, and I didn't know this before like this week, but I was drafting and I was looking at the data at Hex PvP Tools, and the 2-drop 1/3 Ruby card that also gives you an extra resource is a super high rated win percentage card. I usually like stray away from it when I draft, but it's like at like a 55%, which is crazy for a common. This card is also a 1/3 and has another really nice one-shot ability. So I have a feeling that this is going to be another high percentage win rate common. And it sounds like the article really hinted at it being very solid in the limited format. So I think Initiate of Wax with Revert and other tricks is going to be a very powerful card to draft around.
Yeah, or even imagine some sort of constructed deck with the Angel that lets you revert any number of cards.
Yeah, Angel of Judgment, I
Yeah,
think, from the set. Yeah,
yeah,
that card's crazy. I don't know like what kind of cards are going to print with set seven that deal with revert, but I have a feeling. I was speculating earlier, like maybe a socket,
hmm
maybe a diamond socket will have a revert mechanic. They're probably going to print a few other more than one target reverts. So I think we're going to see some cool revert things coming our way. Maybe even a resource that reverts. Who knows?
yeah, maybe. Looking at the Templar of Lumos, it just looks like a solid uncommon. Illuminate right there. 4-drop, 3/4. If it deals combat damage, you can choose to, you can illuminate for 1. And
Yeah, and you get it's combat damage. I was gonna say any type of damage, but combat damage. So yeah, it's your maximum gonna get maybe 1 or 2 eliminates, like if they have another kind of double combat style ability, but it's still pretty nice for a uncommon at 4 with a socket. Who knows what the sockets will look like?
mhm.
Maybe there's a socket that also says eliminate 1, so all of a sudden you get eliminate 2. Who knows?
And I mean, I'm going to put you up to this task because I know you want to do it anyways. It's a bunch of human clerics, so I'm sure you can make an awesome PvE deck out of just human clerics, right?
Yeah. Yeah, well, they don't heal, but I mean, if you're playing campaign cleric, all of a sudden they're healing. So, yeah, I mean, you definitely could fit these in. I don't think we have many ruby human clerics, so that's nice to see.
All
I'd
right.
have to double check, but I don't think we have too many human clerics that are ruby based.
Yeah, I didn't think so either. And moving on to the light of the votives, like I like that candle. It's a very very happy looking candle, and it's important to note here that it says summon 1 candlekin as opposed to illuminate 1. As
Yeah.
we mentioned earlier, could you imagine like if you were playing this for the 4th time and you had say 5 1/1 candles out there, like you could give all of your candles +5/+5 or +4/+4.
Oh my God. Yeah, that would be a little too crazy. I mean, as long as you pair it with actual illuminate effects, I think it's still going to be amazing. Because then you could use the other illuminate effects to give them all the candles you create with light of the votive plus X plus X.
Yeah, so yes, the great escal um the great escalation cards are coming back. We'll see if there should be 1 per shard if I remember correctly during the spoilers. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and spoil that. Finally, moving along, we do get to see the pack. This is one of the parties that was referred to in the story of the Frostheart, and it also is really showcasing Gladiator, Nog of the pack. Obviously, anything that is Gladiator really loves Steadfast because it can attack and then it can still defend on the following turn, utilizing the Gladiator for that offense and defensive aspect as well. Mad Packmaster being able to give another troop you control Gladiator to. Very, very strong. It's just either +2 attack or +2 defense. And then your common Robo Null, who is either a 3/2 on your turn or a 1/4 on your opponent's turn.
Nog, getting out of PvE into PvP is pretty crazy, and he's much better than the PvE version, I would say, at least from the Nog handler encounter. Wow, yeah, I think Gladiator is going to be probably a more sought after limited mechanic, just because of its power on both offensively and defensively, depending upon the quality of the removal in the set. But I would say Gladiator is probably the more solid, limited, sturdy troop format to draft and build decks around. I guess only time will tell, if it's better than the other mechanics.
Yeah, it's gonna be one of those things. I'm hoping that one mechanic doesn't jump out ahead of all of the others. I don't want it to be like in some sets where for a while it was just like, okay, you either had to go Diamond Ruby or Diamond Blood um, every single draft or every single sealed, because those are always going to be your best cards and your best wins. Having different strategies come to the forefront. Runic, Fate Weave, Illuminate, Gladiator, all of those cards seem to want more of those cards to work with in order to get better. Fate Weave and Runic work really well together, and Illuminate just wants more Illuminate.
Yeah, uh, yeah. I still think, just snap judging, like Gladiator is going to be super good. There's the off chance that if you do go a Sapphire archetype, you also get the quality interrupts that could lead to you just countering one of these big Gladiator bombs when you need to, as beat them with weenies. But yeah, my judgment is kind of leaning towards Gladiator being maybe a bigger threat than some of the other mechanics so far. At least I'm just speaking from a limited perspective, definitely not constructive perspective.
Well, based on what I've seen so far, would you be surprised if there was a champion that said give target troop you control Gladiator 2?
No, I think did they already show? Well, I mean, Mad Packmaster kind of does that, but if a champion did that,
If a champion did that.
mm, I don't think I'd be surprised. Gladiator 2, it depends on the charge cost, but maybe for a 5 cost.
What would you say if it was or another champion? And I'm just making up champions. I don't know if champions changed or anything. I have seen some, but I don't remember them all. Illuminate 1 for 4.
Illuminate 1 for 4, you give that to another troop?
No, you just
Oh, you just illuminate 1 for 4. That seems underpowered. I'd say like maybe illuminate 1 for 3.
really, because worker bot, it was, you created a worker bot which was a 1/1 defensive troop for 3, and people were using it.
Yo, yeah, okay, I guess you're right. And then Ada's charge power gives you 2 phantoms for 6, but you have to commit 6 to it. I don't know. Yeah, 4. I agree with Tim Lagore in chat. I think 4 seems a little expensive for Illuminate 1, but I would be okay with like 6 for Illuminate 2. That's just me though. I don't know.
Well, from what I've seen in testing, it's better to illuminate 1 than illuminate 2.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll take your word for it. I guess that makes sense because you have more choices in terms of how you divvy up, whether or not you need a troop or a buff.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about this here. We can theory craft this before we go to the final slide. If you have one Candlekin out there and you could choose between illuminate 1 or +1/+1 or create 1, what would you do?
If I had a 1/1 Candlekin out there, but it depends on the board state and the situation, really.
If knowing that your deck has more illuminate.
Oh, knowing on my deck has more, I'd probably just go wide. I'd go for more Candlekin.
So at what point do you stop going wide? 4?
I guess 3. If there's no other board control and I know I have more illuminate, I'd probably start building up their attack and defense around 3.
Yeah.
It also depends on the removal in the format. I have to see that.
Yeah, there's a lot to consider. I think in like when doing the numbers, like I think at some it's better to have like 4 3/3s than 5 2/2s. Was
4 3/3s and 5 2. Yeah, I'd rather have 4 3/3s than 5 2/2s.
Yeah. So, but then, or would you rather have 4 3/3s or 3 4/4s?
Oh my god. 4-3-3s or 3-4-4s. 3-4-4s probably.
Yeah, so
That's why I think 3 is the right number. I think 3 is the number that would have me settle for buffs.
yeah, and these are the types of questions that like Illuminate's going to make you ask. Like if you know your deck has 12 Illuminate cards in it, like at what point do you think you want to go wide, or and then also considering the removal, if is there going to be like 2 damage, 3 damage, 5 damage, things like that. But yeah, a lot to consider and a lot to play. And you know, now the chat is all talking about, I don't know, which one do you want? Which one do you want to go for? I'm not sure.
3 is the magic number currently.
Yeah, I think 3-4-4s is probably better than 4-3-3s. But then if you illuminate again, would you rather have 3-5-5s or 4-4-4s?
Wait. Okay, 1 second. There's one thing I need to clarify. If you illuminate after your illuminated candle dudes are like candlekins are 3-3s,
Mm-hmm.
would the next candlekin be a 3-3 or a 1-1?
If you create another candlekin, you would create a 1-1 candlekin.
That's what I thought. So yeah, I think I'd just continue to buff them at that point. If I started to lose them to removal and stuff, then I'd reconsider. But until then, I'd continue to buff.
All right. Well, good to know. We'll figure out, and everyone's gonna theory craft all their ways and figure it out. I think with the replay system set up, people are gonna be able to look back at replays like, oh, I should have gone wide here, or I should have gone big here, and that's gonna be great once they are able to push the replay system out to everyone and watch how their games go.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to be a more of an aggressive player anyway, so if I did anything more than 3, I'd probably start to feel guilty about like not pushing them harder.
All right, moving right along, we do have one spoiler for you guys, and well, in the consideration that it is what Cornerstone Guild and Nico and me, it is a PvE card, succumb to the madness. 3 cost, double blood threshold. Bury the top half of your deck, round it up. Then search your deck for a card and put it into your hand.
Yeah, this card's awesome. So yeah, thanks to Dino and Hex for letting me spoil this. So I thought this card was super cool. I think it is pretty game breaking. So I don't know how many people will actually watch this, or whether they'll read about it and try to make up their mind whether or not they submit for a puzzle. But like, consider the enemy champion to have like 20 health and maybe 1 troop in play, like say it has 5 defense. But anyway, there are definite ways to break this card. Mephistopheles, definitely one way. The other is throwing a bunch of stuff into your crypt and playing a bunch of stuff from your crypt the turn after or the same turn. And there's other combo cards that are PvP only, hint, hint, that you could use to combo with this particular card to just get a win the turn after. Yep, Optometron is one of those. I'm also thinking of a blood-only card from AZ1, I believe, that is also super good that you could consider as well. Anyway, it's like, I can't think of the name of it. Anyway, so if you guys come up with like a real cool way to win early with this particular card, send me your answers, and then we'll consider those answers as puzzle prize support answers for our next verdicts. The other things to say about this, as you see some of the cards I hinted down the bottom there, like you can get a Jankbot deck, 150 cards, mill half of it. You're definitely going to end up with a Jankbot either in your crypt or in the deck, and then you can find ways to replay that Jankbot soon after. And like if you're using Hereafter and Reversion even has equipment that can draw you a card right after you play it. And then you have other cards like Rise Again or Rotten Rancor that can just pull it straight from the crypt and put it into play. So yeah, I think Succumb to Madness is one of those cards that is like one of our first super powerful tutors, and I think it will be super popular in PvE. Probably lead to some very early win strategies, depending on the mercenary or campaign character you're playing, to just pull that one card you need to finish off that choice encounter that's particularly difficult for you.
Yeah. I actually had a question that I wanted to ask you, you being the, I guess, the resident PvE expert. I think everyone just turns to you since you know so much about PvE. What what would you say, what is the design space that you think Hex has in terms of making difficult PvE content? Like raids and dungeons, because it feels like after like 3 days, because there's so many powerful cards out there, there's so many tools that we have access to, that the most difficult encounter becomes like walks in the park after 3 days, once we figure out how to fine tune and min max our decks properly.
Yeah, I mean, I think the challenge for Hex for their end game design is that they're going to need to find ways to answer different decks in a progressive way. So, like, say you're going to a dungeon, and that dungeon is focused on milling your deck. So a card like this might be super bad against a mill themed dungeon, but then the next dungeon focusing on taking out all of the aggressive plays from you. So you have to survive late, and then the next dungeon's all about you know it's all about huge troops. So you have to play aggressive. So if they keep switching the way that you have to play for the end game, at least, that will be a very effective way for them to make players think about how they're deck building and not just, go full strength ahead, hit the brick wall and keep hitting that wall until they win. I think that's what's happening a lot right now.
Yeah, I think that's what's happening too, and I hope that they actually have that design space. Some of our viewers are just noting that we're running this particular stream at 60 frames a second, and yeah, we are.
What do you don't like seeing standing frames at 60 frames per second? What's wrong with that?
Well, yeah, this is probably like the easiest channel out there right now that you can watch at 60 frames a second. I think I've only uploaded 1.2 gigs so far, but at 1080p, 60 frames a second. Hope you guys are enjoying this quality, high definition video for all you guys out there. Maybe at one point we'll try to go to 4K if the demand is high enough.
Yeah, so I hope you guys enjoy this card. Feel free. I'll try to post an image on the spoiler thread as soon as we wrap this up. If you guys haven't already, I have the full image that I can post. And yeah, let me know how you'd break this in PvE. It's probably going to be the potted Shogoth is for set 6. I still haven't collected a playset of. It'll probably be very deep in those chests, but I think it's going to be pretty fun to play around with.
Yeah, it's probably going to be really, really fun. I'm going to enjoy playing this, and I'm really curious as to when the set is finally going to release, when we're going to get all of our access to these particular cards. I've heard rumors, but nothing is for certain. Hopefully, depending on how quickly the spoilers are coming at us, that's probably a good indication.
Oh yeah, and if we want to speculate, and I think I've talked to you about this, I've talked to other people, but my guess is it's going to come out on June 27th or that particular week, because they're going to want to have the set before the ladder resets, so that they don't have to deal with crazy prize stuff. And also, it's a huge hype indicator for the next CCS, because that's where people will be bashing their heads against the wall trying to figure out what the next best deck is going to be. So it'll generate a lot of buzz and potentially a lot of sales to build up the powerful cards of the set and the best decks for set 7 meta.
Yeah. See, my big question is going to be, is the Cosmic Crown Showdown going to be on the 8th or the 15th? Because it's normally the second weekend, but I do know that how weekends work in Hex is is it a full weekend? Is it a half weekend? We don't count that weekend. Sometimes we do. So I'm not sure when the Cosmic Crown Showdown is. I do expect Frozen Heart to be legal in the next Cosmic Crown Showdown, just because they like having us jump through hoops trying to figure out what the best decks are, but at the same time, they want the best deck builders out there doing this early on so they can foresee any problems and address any issues, if there are any issues like TM back in set 3 days, where they can try to get ahead of it and figure out and start monitoring certain things.
Yeah, and I think the last CCS is about 2 weeks after the ladder reset. So if we expect the same, everyone's going to have about a 2 week window to kind of figure out what they want to do, which should be long enough, I guess. I'm not 100% sure if it would be long enough, but I think 2 weeks is probably enough time for people to kind of collect what they want and then use the auction house for the rest and build that deck that they think is going to beat all others.
All right. We'll close with 2 questions to you, Nico, because I can't say anything. I'll just ask smart questions. I guess kind of spoilers. We do know that there is going to be a reprint of Uranus, right? In
Yes.
this set. And has anyone been given a Kickstarter? Wasn't there supposed to be like some sort of dragon deck?
Yeah, so there's supposed to be a dragon deck, and I think Corey has already mentioned that that deck will contain Uranus, and that I think Corey already mentioned that it was going to be reprinted. So I'm pretty sure that the deck that's coming to a lot of Kickstarter backers for, I think it was a pretty low backing amount, they're going to end up getting Uranus in that deck as well, from what I understand.
Yeah, and based on what I understand, it's probably going to be the same track record as the decks that are currently sold on the Chark Mart. Is my assumption. Some sort of deck that has alternate art, or maybe even animated alternate art, that you can receive, and that the Kickstarters can get as well. That's my guess at this point, just because everything seems to line up, and it's something that they've already done. They've already built the bucket. Why not use the bucket, in this particular instance, since it fulfills the old Kickstarter, as opposed to trying to build a new bucket that only would work once.
The only downside is if they promise that as an exclusive thing to Kickstarter, then they might have trouble doing that. But I honestly can't remember, and I honestly don't care whether or not other people can purchase it. But someone will. If it was stated, someone will care.
Yeah, and at that point, maybe there will be enough animated alternate art Uranus going around that if you really want them, you can buy them off the auction house. And luckily, there is a legitimate secondary market for cards in Hex. Well, I think that's all the time we have today. I was really hoping to be able to cast a game with you, since we do know that the replay system was handed out. I was able to cast a few games, and I just tried to watch a replay, and it didn't work for me anymore. So I'll have to. Yeah, so I'll have to figure out what's going on there. Perhaps they're trying to fine tune the replay system a bit more before, and we'll be able to test a little bit later. But for now, from everyone, all of us here, the Hex community, everyone at Cornerstone Guild, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed it.
See you next time.